Hey, for Saturday, September 19th, 2020, this is, once again, the Pro and Con Show, and I'm your host, Michael James Ott. As always, welcome to the show. Okay, this is me. I'm trying to be a good citizen, trying to talk to you, outreaching to other people about being a better citizen. And that means being open to discussing things that we don't normally like, perhaps, or maybe some people have views that we don't 100% agree with. But we should be curious, all of us, why they have those views. And at least being open to understanding why they have the view that they have. Because there's the main problem that we have right now is you and I, have allowed ourselves to fall into this trap where there's basically two political parties, and those two parties are run by powerful, influential people who want to be that way. That's their goal in life, is to be powerful and influential and wealthy. And so they've figured out, using very simple tactics, well known in human psychology, around the use of propaganda, and they're doing it, and they're dividing us into essentially two tribes or two cults, and then there's some people in between that won't go for it, but the vast majority of us, unfortunately for us, we're susceptible to being corralled, if you will, into one of these cults or one of these tribes, and then we're controlled, and we need to stop that. We need to realize that and if you talk to people, if you talk to anybody, and will at least listen, you'll very quickly come to realize that they are much more like you, even though, maybe you're a Republican and you're talking to a Democrat. If you would actually just talk and find out, ask them, tell me about your path in life. Tell me about the walk that got you to where you are on this particular issue. And then, respectfully, I would like to tell you how I got to where I'm at. And while you do that, I guarantee you're going to find out that there's way more commonality than not. And people just are allowing themselves, unfortunately, to be stoked into this agonism, it's called, this warrior stance against each other. The Hatfields and McCoys, the Democrats and Republicans. Okay. Anyway, so today's show is an election update, and actually I wanted to go through the battleground states. So, and I, again, the political parties and us as humans, we have allowed ourselves to kind of get into these tribes, if you will, and what it, in a big way, one of the big demographics is kind of rural versus urban. And so what you find is that there's a swath of states, kind of more rural states, generally through the central part of the nation, and these tend to be more Republican leaning, and sometimes very strongly so. And then you have the states in the Midwest and on the coasts, and these generally are more Democratic leaning, so conservative versus Republican, or versus liberal. And it's not right, and it would be different if we did a lot better talking to each other, and if we threw away this allowing ourselves to be basically corralled into these cults or tribes called Democrats and Republicans. But anyway, so these states then end up being the ones that are not already like solidly in one of those camps. For example, Utah is going to vote for Mr. Trump, and the margin is huge. The last thing I saw was like 25 points or something like that. So Utah, the people in Utah are going to vote for Mr. Trump. Now, whether it's because they believe in him or they just believe in the Republican Party or don't know. But the reality is that the people there in Utah, which is mostly a fairly sparsely populated state, and mostly pretty rural, they're going to go for Mr. Trump. And then you pick a state like California or New York, and these states are, I don't know, in Maine, for example, they're all like plus 25, plus 30 points, or whatever, a huge margin for Mr. Biden, the Democrat. And again, the cults and the tribes and all this other stuff. So what ends up happening is there's a swath of generally so-called red states, the states that are more conservative or Republican, and then there's these so-called blue states. These are more liberal or Democratic party kind of supporting states, and then you have the battlegrounds. And so I'm just going to talk about the battlegrounds today because I thought it would be interesting. So on a national poll, the latest polls here, let's say they finished on the 15th, the 16th, and 19th. And it shows Mr. Biden on a national level on average. And I'm Real Clear Politics, by the way. This is the website. I'm going to flip this over so you can see it. Real Clear Politics. Okay. Oops, let me get this in the camera. So I recommend that you go to this because, the different organizations do polls, and the polls come out sometimes pretty radically different. I'll point out some of that here in a moment. But anyway, let's go to the battleground states. Okay, and so the first one in the list is my home state of Wisconsin. I live here in Hudson, Wisconsin. And so the latest polls here were conducted and finished on the 13th. And and then New York Times and Siena did one back that ended up on the 10th. So those last three polls, they're also, the 13th, this is the 19th. So it's, coming up on a week old. But Biden +6, Biden +10, Biden +5. So if you average those out, you get, Biden +6 or 7, I guess around 7 or something like that. So, okay, that's Wisconsin. Florida, so there's some polls here again, ending on the 13th, the 12th, and the 18th. So let's look at those three. So Monmouth did one on the 13th. That was Biden +5. FAU, whatever that is, was a tie. And CBS News was +2. So basically they're saying Biden is +2-ish in Florida, okay, at this moment in time. Michigan. So Michigan is another state that, again, is going to waver. Okay, so one of the polls finished up on the 19th, the 16th, and the 15th. So let's look at those three. You've got +5, +5, +8. So if you average those out, you're talking about +6 point something in Michigan. So at the moment, it would look like, if the voting were conducted today, that Michigan would end up going to Mr. Biden, as well as Wisconsin. Florida, a little bit closer, but according to the average of the polls, probably still for Mr. Biden, but we'll see. Pennsylvania, let's talk about Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania is much closer to where Mr. Biden is from, New Jersey. And let's again look at the last two polls, some of them are several weeks old. So the last two, Trafalgar did one, it was on the 17th, and Rutgers did one, or Reuters did one on the 16th. And those two polls were +2 and +3 for Biden in Pennsylvania. So Biden 2 to 3 percentage points in Pennsylvania. North Carolina, interestingly enough, is also a swing state here. And so we've got some from, well, there's quite a few actually, 18th, 16th, 14th, and a couple on the 13th from many sources. And it's pretty close. So Biden +1, Biden +1, Biden +3, a tie, and Biden +3. Well, if you average all that out, you end up with, Biden +1-ish. So a very, North Carolina is really on the edge and could easily be one of the states that, maybe the outcome of their election, especially for president, it might not be known for solidly a week or something until after the polls close, because it might come down to being just that close. A lot of the states have rules. If certain elections are within a certain percent or certain number of absolute votes, then there's an automatic recount and stuff like that. So it's hard to say, but very interesting. And then Arizona. So Arizona, surprisingly, I would have thought that Arizona would have been solidly Republican. And we've got some polls here from the 16th and 15th. So let's just look at those two. And here's one, again, you can get some pretty wide variation from poll to poll, but on the average, things seem to average out fairly well. So New York Times, Siena, they have Mr. Biden on a poll that was finished on the 16th as +9, but then Monmouth did one that finished up on the 15th, and it was only +2. So if you average those two, you get, 5, 6 kind of thing. And that would seem to be the true case in Arizona. And so those are really the toss-up states. I'm just going to look at, so Real Clear Politics has the Electoral College map that they do, and then they also have the no toss-ups. So just to whoops, come on, pushing the wrong button. Here we go. Come on, you can do it. Okay. So here's their map, and and again, you can look at all this, no matter who you are. You can go to Real Clear Politics, and they're just taking the information, all these different polls. They go out and get the poll results, and then they just put them in tables, and then based on all that, they just populate these maps and all this other information. So right now, it looks like Mr. Biden on a national level has 222 Electoral College votes kind of locked up. You need 270 to win. So he's only 48 or so away from, and they're saying based on the polling and stuff like that, he's pretty much a lock on 222. Mr. Trump is pretty much a lock on 125. And then there's 191 toss-ups in between. But if you go with the, whoops, oh, come on. It's actually the way this website is made up. It's kind of easy to touch the wrong thing. There's some links here that are pretty close together. But anyway, here we go. So if you take the probabilities like an election today using the average polling results and so on, you end up with Mr. Biden winning on a national level 353 to 185. And you can see that map, and you can see what I was talking about earlier, how the center of the country, there's a swath that goes from, north central down to kind of south central, southeast. And that is all very generally pretty rural and generally, pretty conservative voting kind of folks there. Again, I think because we don't share information well enough in this country. But then I was talking about there's the Midwest and then the coasts and how they are affected. All right, so that is the Battleground State update. And I hope you enjoyed that information. And I hope you'll be a great citizen, community member, and vote, okay? And I'm encouraging all of you to vote and vote early, because there could be a lot of problems on election day, or problems even before election day. Polling places getting closed, or not enough poll workers to keep them open, or. And also, if you're doing an absentee ballot or whatever, not getting it in on time, and having it not be counted because it arrived too late at your local municipal clerk's office or whatever. So vote, please, I beg you, all ages, get out there and vote. If you're 18 or older and you're a U.S. citizen, do it. Sign up, vote. Vote, 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 and make sure you got a plan and get it done early. In my particular case, I have an absentee ballot. I just got hold of it today, and I'm going to mark it tomorrow and put it in the Dropbox tomorrow. Okay? For the Pro and Con Show, my name is Michael James Ott, and until the next show, bye for now.